Hi everyone, it's Brittany from the Newnan Carnegie Library, and today we are learning to make our own bath bombs. You've probably used them or at least heard of them before. They're those lovely little fizzy delights to put in your bathtub. They smell good, they help us relax, and they make our skin soft. And now you can learn to make them on your own. So let's see what we'll need.
To make your bath bombs, you will need Epsom salt, citric acid, which can be found online or at a local health food store, a carrier oil such as olive oil, almond oil, or liquid coconut oil, water, cornstarch, baking soda, essential oil, and then if you'd like, some food coloring. As far as equipment, you're gonna need some molds. We're using plastic eggs because they're super easy to find. Most of us have them in their house, but there's a whole plethora online, so take a look. A 1 cup measuring cup, half cup, and a 1/3 cup. A half teaspoon and a teaspoon. A tablespoon is also preferable, but we didn't have that, so we know 3 teaspoons equals a tablespoon, so we're gonna make that work. A fork or a whisk, and then a big bowl and a small bowl. Let's get started. It's time to mix up our dry ingredients. In this bowl, I've already added a cup of baking soda and a half a cup of our citric acid. And now I'm just going to put in a half a cup of Epsom salts and a 1/3 cup of cornstarch. And I'm just going to mix all this up with a fork until it's well combined.
Okay everyone, now it's time to mix up our wet ingredients. So I have a smaller bowl here. I'm gonna start with our olive oil. So you need a tablespoon of your carrier oil of choice. Again, I have a teaspoon, so I'm just gonna use 3 of those. And again, if you don't have olive oil or if you aren't a fan of olive oil, you could do almond oil, liquid coconut oil, anything like that. Then we're gonna add in a teaspoon of our water. And then a half a teaspoon of the essential oil of your choice. My favorite is lavender. You can't beat it. I know it's supposed to relax you, but it always energizes me at the same time. It's just like, whew, gives me that little pop. I love it. So I'm just gonna shake out a half a teaspoon of the lavender oil. Now, if you wanted to mix scents or make several different ones, obviously you could use like a 1/4 teaspoon and a 1/4 teaspoon like that. So I'm just gonna dump that in. And then I'm gonna mix it all together. And of course, we all know oil and water don't mix. They will, we just gotta break down those molecules. So I'm gonna keep mixing this, and then when you see me back, we will be ready to mix our wet and our dry ingredients together. Before I combine my dry and wet ingredients, because you wanna move pretty quickly once you combine those, you don't want them to dry out, I'm going to grease my molds. Again, we're using the plastic eggs. So I'm just going to, I've just folded up a paper towel into a square, and I'm gonna take my olive oil, the same oil I'm using as my carrier oil. And just grease the insides of these. This is gonna help them come out a little bit easier. You don't want them to stick and then it crumble. So I'm just going to go through each of these and wipe them off. It's okay to get a little messy. And then we will be back in just a few to form our bath bombs. I am ready to mix my dry ingredients with my wet ingredients. Now I've got everything set up because once we combine these, we want to act fairly quickly to make sure it doesn't dry out. So I've got my already greased molds right over here, and then I've spread a paper towel out to put the molds on once they're filled. So I'm just going to give my wet ingredients another little stir just because they really want to separate. And now I'm just going to slowly pour them into my dry ingredients. And it is gonna fizz a little bit. That's because we're making bath bombs, so it is that initial reaction is gonna fizz. But if we move quickly, we will still have plenty of fizz left for when we make our bath bombs. And it's gonna be a dry, crumbly mixture, almost as if you're making a pie dough. Now this is also the point that you could add your food coloring. You could separate it into different little bowls and make different colors. I may do that with some of this. I think I'm gonna leave most of it uncolored. Get to filling. Pack this down in here. Because it's a looser, moist mixture, you're gonna wanna really pack it in. You can get really creative with this. You can make different scents. You can make a bunch of different colors and make layered bath bombs. We may try that here in a minute. Just have fun with it. That's one of the reasons why we make things ourselves, is so we can get creative. So they're both filled. I'm gonna try to close this in. I may put a little bit too much in. Close this up. Oh, there it goes. And it's a little messy on the side, but that's okay. So there's our first filled one. So I'm just gonna keep working through this. Okay everyone, it is time to take them out of the mold. It's been about an hour, so you're gonna wanna let them stay in the mold for an hour to an hour and a half, and then it's time to take them out to let them finish drying. So I'm just carefully opening the eggs. This is my like bluish purple color. And you'll see there's some separation because it is two pieces. So if you wanna just really carefully press along this seam just to smooth out that line, just so it looks a little prettier if you're giving them as gifts. It's been about 3 hours. They are all nice and dry, and aren't they adorable? Now, I'm not going to store these in a bowl. You want to make sure you're storing them in an airtight container, but I wanted to give you a quick tip. So if you have any that crumble or fall apart in half, like this guy right here, when you take them out, don't throw them away. The halved ones you can just drop in. They may not be the best for gift giving, but they'll still totally work. But if you have some that are crumbling or some leftover mixture when you're forming them, don't throw it away. Put it in an airtight container and use it as foaming bath fizzies. Super fun, super cute way to do that. All right, so let's drop it in. And there it goes.